And for this week, interestingly enough, in terms of entertainment, the biggest news is not related to anything related to movies, to animation, to TV shows, or anything like that. This year, many people are actually focused on video games, considering that we have E3, the Electronic Entertainment Expo, going on. And each year, it's always the biggest event in terms of video games. But AniMat, I know you may say, this is the animation podcast. You talk about animation, not about video games. Well, I mean, is there a rule somewhere where I'm not allowed to talk about anything other than animation? I mean, it is my podcast. I'm allowed to talk about whatever I want. Plus the fact that, especially with video games, I'm sure a lot of you people are actually interested in video games in general. But since we also are animation fans, or if you are listening to this, I presume you're animation fans or interested in animation, I decided to make things a little bit simple. I'm going to take all the press conferences that actually occurred at E3 and pick out the best ones, like the major highlights to really go and talk about that could be geared more towards you guys, into something that I would like to call the Animation Fans Guide to E3 2017. Now, we got a lot to cover, but don't worry, it could actually go out quickly. And if you guys are actually interested in any of the games I'm talking about, then you can go and look up some of the trailers and some of the information that's going on. But I'm just going to go out and give you the highlights of which ones that you guys specifically should go and keep an eye on. So, with all that said, let's go and get things started with the first one that made its press conference, which is EA. And apparently with Electronic Arts, they did announce some sports games, they did announce some stuff for, Battlefield 1? Yeah, they didn't really announce anything much. I mean, the only one that does seem kind of interesting is actually a game called A Way Out. Now, this is actually made by the same people that made Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons, and this game is actually made to be co-op only, so you have to be two players to go and play, and it's actually more story-based about these two guys that want to go and escape prison. So that's the only big thing that they really did announce at EA. Next up that we have for you guys is Bethesda. Much like E3, there really isn't anything going on that they have announced. Nothing really that really stood out. They did announce that Fallout 4 and Doom are going to be in VR. And on top of that, especially with the factor of the Skyrim, when you can play it on the Nintendo Switch, if you do put in a Link amiibo, you can actually play as Link in Skyrim. So that's the only thing that they really did announce. But there is one thing that really did make them stand out, and it's actually one of the biggest highlights of E3 this year, which is Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus. Now, keep in mind, though, this is not necessarily a sequel to the classic Wolfenstein game. This is actually a sequel to Wolfenstein: The New Order, but it's still the same franchise. It's still within the same world and still the same gameplay where you could take out your badass guns and you could go and shoot as many Nazis as you can. Just take them down, blow up their guts, and hear Nazis going, "My name!" and yeah, definitely really awesome. And I just gotta say, that trailer is amazing, I gotta say. It's a little bit long, it's like 8 minutes, but the variety of stuff that they brought out, it is purely awesome. I definitely recommend you guys to go check it out. It really is a blast. I just gotta say, one of the best trailers that they got this year. But I just gotta say, though, there is one thing that really did make Wolfenstein 2 stand out this year. And yeah, okay, yes, there's the game itself, the trailer. I mean, yeah, like Wolfenstein 2, like I said before, is a massive highlight of E3. But there is one little event that really did make it stand out that is so stupid that I just cannot ignore it. Now, maybe you have heard the news of it, but believe it or not, when Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus was released in the trailer, you actually got some mentally challenged idiots who actually got offended over the fact that you have a game killing Nazis. I kid you not. People got offended over a game that you kill Nazis. And the comments that they left in there, oh my god, they go beyond the so much for the tolerant left comments. They go far beyond that. Like, you've seen a lot of comments, people are just saying like, oh, this is just a game where you kill people that you disagree with. Why is it that I have to kill white people in this? Why don't I just go and kill blacks and Chinamen and Indians? Why is it that, why can't I kill communists in here? I don't want to kill Nazis, I want to kill communists. SJWs are worse than Nazis because they hurt my feelings more. Oh my god, and this is not an exaggeration. Some of them are actually paraphrasing what those comments actually are. I kid you guys not. I mean, holy crap. Only in Trump's America, man. Only in Trump's America, where you have people so stupid where they have to go on the internet and publicly proclaim that they are literally, and I'm using that correctly, literal Nazi sympathizers. Oh my god, this really does prove that all white nationalists are mentally challenged. Like, they have a serious mental problem that they might as well go and get a lobotomy if they still think that being racist towards people of color is actually okay. Oh my god. What a bunch of pathetic losers. Oh, it's just... like, I just cannot avoid that. Like, I just gotta mention it. Yes, there are people out there that are really that freaking stupid on the internet. Now, I will say right now that there's no point really in going into YouTube and try to find those comments and stuff like that. YouTube correctly decided to go and hide them off into the abyss, or maybe they delete them completely because, like we all know as a fact, all Nazis are horrible human beings, and promoting Nazis is absolutely terrible. You cannot do that. If you do that, you are a horrible human being. Like, at least YouTube did that, so there's no point, but you could go into different articles where they did save it, and, like, they put it up on the wall for the whole world to see, just stupid people being really stupid on the internet. Okay, so now that I've had my fun with Bethesda, now it's time that we're gonna go into one of the big boys, which is Microsoft. And the biggest thing that Microsoft has announced this year is a brand new console. Now, chances are you have probably heard about Project Scorpio. Well, apparently they have revealed what it's going to be. And apparently Xbox has, or Microsoft has officially revealed their new and next big console is called the Xbox One X. Now, I just want to say right now, no people, this is not like an updated version of the Xbox One. This is like an entire console on its own. It's kind of like the Wii U in a sense. It's not like an updated Wii, it's just the Wii, it's a new console just called the Wii U, but it's kind of the same thing here where the Xbox One is now the Xbox One X. And apparently what they have announced is that it's going to be coming out this year on November 7th with a $500 price tag. And the biggest thing is that apparently it is so powerful that now it can play games in 4K. So like, they really want to try to go and advertise that 1080p is outdated, and they want to go and make 4K the next big thing right over there. And apparently, yes, you can actually play some of your old accessories from Xbox One, and it does have some backwards compatibility where you can play some Xbox One games, which is actually really good because the majority of games that they have announced this year is actually for the Xbox One. With all that said, though, in terms of the games that they did announce, one big one is actually regarding Assassin's Creed Origins. Now, this is actually a new version where it's going to be set in Egypt, so you basically have an Egypt-themed Assassin's Creed. Some other ones that they have announced, well, of course, one of the big games for Xbox One X is going to be Minecraft. Now you can play it in 4K. The point of that is, I don't know really. But there is one that is actually really interesting. It's called Sea of Thieves. And what Sea of Thieves is basically, imagine the art style of Team Fortress 2, but you take that and you turn it into this game, like you turn this into this open world game where you are a captain of a pirate ship, and you do some of the usual stuff. And what they've revealed in E3, you see them like going on a treasure hunt. They go explore in an island, and so much more, and even fighting some supernatural beings like living skeletons. So imagine Pirates of the Caribbean, but as an open world game. So that's basically what you got in there, and it does look pretty interesting, I must say. Which, by the way, that one is going to be out exclusively only for the Xbox One and Windows 10. Another big thing that they have announced that now, considering that we are animation fans, this is probably the biggest thing for you guys, which is going to be related to Cuphead. And the biggest thing that they've announced for it is that finally they actually do have a release date, which is going to be on September 29th for PC and Xbox One. Now, for those of you who don't know what Cuphead is, believe it or not, it is actually a game that is inspired by the 1930s cartoons made by Max Fleischer. So you do have some of the same looks that are similar to stuff like Betty Boop or Popeye, and even the process of it, in the creative sense, it is all done by hand. It is all hand-drawn, animated. They're actually hand-painted onto cells. The backgrounds are all painted by hand as well. And anything related to computers is just for the programming, to take all that art into a game. And in there, they promise that there's going to be a lot of boss battles and a lot of platforming fun, and so much more. But I will say, I'm just going to give you a bit of a heads up. A lot of people are saying right now that it is going to be a pretty hard game. So this is not a little fun little kids game. This is going to be something that could be pretty tough. So just a little warning right over there. All right, other things that they have announced. Oh, actually, there is one more thing, and that is actually regarding the last night. And this one right over here, interestingly enough, is actually a show stealer. This is the original game. Yeah, this is like the original IP that really did steal the show this year at E3. Now, the last night, the best way that I could put it is that it really is a mix of retro gaming with new graphic design, or it's really tough to say. You really got to see the trailer to really understand. What you get in the last night is that you got this awesome, like you pretty much got this 3D environment of this post-apocalyptic slum-like city, but all the people are actually done in pixelated 2D animation, and it's actually really good, and it really is fascinating. It could be possible it'll go in a little bit into a story, but it might have some interesting gameplay as well. The one thing that really did make me, like, what it actually made me remind myself of, oh my god, I saw, for some reason, like, I remembered it, like, I did research, but I forgot the title of the game, but it actually reminded me. Yes, okay. Out of This World. The game itself actually did remind me of Out of This World, where it does have a little bit of the same feel, the same type of graphics. It really does look unique, so it could definitely have a lot of projects, so who knows how that's going to go. Okay, so next up that we have on our list is Ubisoft, and believe it or not, this is actually one of the top players that people are saying that they actually went really big on this, and some of the announcements that they've made are actually really huge. And the first one that they've made in terms of an announcement is actually the weirdest crossover that anybody could ever expect, and this is even stranger than just random Final Fantasy characters with Disney characters for Kingdom Hearts. Is actually Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle. This is a crossover between Mario characters and the characters from Rayman Raving Rabbids, except you don't have Rayman, it's just the Rabbids. And a lot of them are actually dressed up as Mario characters, believe it or not. And they do have a bit of their own quirky personalities. Like the biggest one that really did stand out excuse me, is actually Peach Rabbit, where she actually acts as this, like, valley girl who loves taking selfies. And the gameplay that they have in there is actually really interesting. They say that this is going to be more RPG, and some people have even stated that this could be like Nintendo's answer to XCOM. So it could have a bit of a unique gameplay that could be a little bit more different than what we would be normally expecting in games like Mario and also the Rabbids games. But I just gotta say, I am honestly really excited about this. I'm probably in the minority. When I first heard about this idea, I'm like, yes, I want this. Holy crap. I probably need to go and get a Switch just so I can play this game. It's kind of like Captain Underpants in a sense. It's like the new DreamWorks Captain Underpants movie, where it's like so stupid, you just gotta turn off your brain in order to go have fun with it. I mean, this is a game where Mario is crossing over with the Rabbids. I mean, it's so stupid in itself, but there's gotta be something in there that is purely genius. And honestly, I really am excited to see what they have in store for this one. So this is probably one of those games that I'm definitely reserving to go and get once I finally get myself a Nintendo Switch. There are also a lot of big games that they have announced as well, like Skull and Bones, and also showing Far Cry 5. But the biggest one that they have announced is actually a very long-awaited trailer. Some people have waited for years, almost maybe even decades that they have waited upon this. And finally, it is actually gonna happen, which is Beyond Good and Evil 2. That is actually happening. Now, I will confess, personally, I am not too familiar with the Beyond Good and Evil game like the first one. I don't really know anything about it, but I will say the trailer that they showed is actually amazing. Like, even I feel like I'm sold on that idea. It really is so good. But also, I gotta say, it's so well done. You actually got a lot of great humor, especially with the monkey character. You got this highly creative world that's going on, and a lot of great action happening at the same time. So it really is such a very well done trailer, a really amazing looking game. Well, that's just the cinematics, of course. I don't know if the game is actually going to look like that, but yeah, it really does look absolutely phenomenal, and definitely one of the best trailers that they got in there so far. Okay, so with that said and done, we also got Sony. Now this time, however, don't worry, this is actually the good Sony, the Sony that actually makes the games for PlayStation and stuff like that. This is not like this is not like Sony Pictures, where they would do things that nobody asked for, and they're made by some of the most incompetent and stupidest people in Hollywood, where they would do things like an Emoji Movie and clean versions of some of their films like Step Brothers and Talladega Nights. Like, at least they did drop the ball. They did cancel that, at least. But yeah, well, pretty much what I'm saying is that now we're going to be talking about the good Sony. The Sony where people actually know what they're doing. And some of the stuff that they have announced is actually pretty big. They actually announced that there's going to be a PS4 remake of Shadow of the Colossus, which I gotta say, I love that game, really is phenomenal. There's also going to be a new Uncharted game, the first one that's actually not going to have Nathan Drake, and the story is actually going to be focusing on Chloe, where she's going to go and hunt for a treasure called the Tusk of Ganesh. Oh boy, so woo, fudge nabbit. Sorry about that, guys. But the big one that they did announce is actually going to be Spider-Man. Now, this is not going to be connected with anything related to Spider-Man right now. This is not going to be based on the previous movies. This is not going to be Spider-Man based on Spider-Man Homecoming. This is going to be a standalone Spider-Man game made by Insomniac. And they did actually release a gameplay trailer of it. And I gotta say, just by looking at it, I feel like this is going to be the Spider-Man equivalent of Batman Arkham Asylum, because it really is heavily based on stealth and action. But you do get a lot of the Spider-Man aspects, where you got a lot of web slinging action, where you got to use your web to catch bad guys, a lot of different types of action. It does look like it's going to be a pretty solid and pretty cool game right over there. And then another game that you have is actually going to be God of War. This is actually going to be a new God of War. Some people are saying it's a soft reboot in a sense, where Kratos is actually going to have his young son, and instead of looking into Greek mythology and stuff like that, this time they're going to be focusing on Norse mythology. And what we are seeing in terms of the gameplay is that it could be possible it'll be focused a lot more on, trying to, the usual God of War stuff where you, like, hack and slash bad guys, but also trying to take care of your son, who's going to be joining you in the battles, but you gotta make sure that he's okay. So, in a sense, it's God of War with a little bit of Yoshi's Island, maybe. I don't know. Except you're not gonna have a crying kid on your shoulder all the time. And other than that, that looks like it's going to be it in terms of the big updates. But then we have saved the best for last. The one that people have proclaimed that this is the winner of E3 this year, believe it or not, is actually Nintendo. Yes, Nintendo was actually the big one that announced some of the biggest games this year at E3. And many of them, well, they're going to be released a lot later, like in 2018, but they did announce that many of their big franchises are going to be coming onto the Nintendo Switch. Some of the big examples include Yoshi, in which that's going to be a bit of a spiritual successor of Yoshi's Woolly World, and this time, like, Yoshi's more of like a plush toy in this environment that's made out of toys and cardboard and stuff like that. It's like Yoshi, but if it were made by the imagination of Andy from Toy Story. You also got another one, which is Kirby, which in this case, they're bringing back the old idea from the canceled games, where you can actually possess some characters. So, like, actually, you can possess enemies so that they can become your ally, but the biggest thing that they are coming back with this Kirby game is actually combining abilities to turn into this one new big ability. So they're bringing that back from Kirby 64, the Crystal Shard. So that's going to be returning. Another big one is that even though there is no announcement of what that game specifically will be, but apparently it is confirmed that there will be a core Pokemon RPG game that will be coming to the Switch. And then, not only are we getting one, but two new Metroid games. Yes, Samus is going to be coming back. One game on the 3DS that's literally called Metroid Samus Return. And then another big comeback for this series, pretty much like Beyond Good and Evil 2, Nintendo has announced that they are making a Metroid Prime 4. Yes, that's legit gonna be happening. And then, they also went and announced some new stuff for Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Now, for those of you who have a Nintendo Switch, then there's a very high chance that you also have Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Well, don't put it down just yet, because apparently there's going to be more stuff that's going to be coming, including 2 new DLC packs. Apparently they're going to give you new missions, and on top of that, they're also going to be giving you new equipment. And also, on top of some of the other video games that they did announce that's going to be coming onto the Switch, they also announced that there's going to be a new Fire Emblem game called Fire Emblem Warriors. Now, before I get into the grand finale, let me go and talk to you guys about another little thing that Nintendo has announced, which is Amiibos. Yes, there are going to be some more Amiibos that are going to be coming our way. And the big things that they have announced is that coming soon we're gonna get some Fire Emblem Amiibos, including Chrom and Tiki. And then on top of the announcement with the Metroid games, we're also going to be getting a standalone Metroid Amiibos, including Samus for Metroid Samus Returns, and then you also got the little Metroid. So rather if this is the ally Metroid from Super Metroid, or maybe this is just a regular Metroid enemy, who knows? But I gotta say that Amiibo actually does really look cool. But then you also got more Amiibos for Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, which they say will include the Goron champion Daruk, the Rito champion Revali, the Zora champion Mifa, and the Gerudo champion Urbosa. So they are going to be coming in as an Amiibo. And then also you got a lot of Mario amiibos as well. Some of the new ones actually include some that are based on Mario enemies, including a Goomba and a Koopa Troopa. And then also you got wedding-themed Mario games. Sorry, that's just the phone right over there. Don't bother with that. Don't worry. Somebody will pick that up soon. Anyways, as I was saying, you actually got wedding-themed Mario amiibos, including Mario, Peach, and Bowser, and that's going to be based on the game that's going to be coming up that I'll talk about. And I just want to say about those amiibos in particular, holy crap, you know that in 2018, people are going to take those amiibos and they're going to be the next big cake toppers. I mean, for God's sakes, like you'll have like a couple that are huge video game fans, and of course they're going to buy the Mario and the Peach one, or even just the Peach and the Bowser one, and they're going to use that as wedding cake toppers. You know for a fact that is going to happen. Okay, now, with all that said and done, we are going to get into the grand finale of E3. The last thing that they have announced for it. Now, this is a game that we already know is going to be coming out, but this is Super Mario Odyssey. Now, we know that technically with this one, last time that people have seen Super Mario Odyssey, they have discussed about how Mario is going to be teleporting into different worlds, whether it be the real world, a New Donk City, or they're going to go into a dinosaur world, or they're going to go to a Dia de los Muertos world, kind of like in the Book of Life or Coco, and so much more. But in this one, they actually introduced the mechanic of what's going to be happening in Super Mario Odyssey, what is going to be the point of it. And in here, you know that you got like a special little hat that's going to be a bit like a character as well. But in here, the hat will allow you to control anything around your environment. So Mario can actually go and transform into Goombas, into Koopa Troopas, into Bullet Bills, into Cheep Cheeps, into Boos, and so much more. So Mario would be able to go and do that. But like I said, it's not just enemies, but also your environment. You can go and transform yourself into a little frog. You can turn yourself into a realistic person. You can turn yourself into a cab. And la pièce de résistance, the magnum opus of that Mario trailer, is that Mario can turn himself into a giant T-Rex. Now, when I mean T-Rex, it's not like those cartoony Yoshi-style dinosaurs. No. This is a realistic, giant, life-size T-Rex, something that came straight out of Jurassic Park, and you can control that. And I forgot to mention also, when you possess something, that thing will actually have the mustache, the signature hat, and also will be having blue eyes, since Mario does have blue eyes. So, yeah, that's kind of the big thing, is that you can control anything and everything. And might I add, holy crap, the graphics are beautiful. A lot of people would make fun of Nintendo not being graphically advanced as some of their competitors like Sony and Microsoft, but this one, it really does knock it out of the park. It looks beautiful. It looks phenomenal. And I gotta say right now, the best trailers of E3 are hands down Super Mario Odyssey, Wolfenstein 2, and also, what was the other one? Oh yes, Beyond Good and Evil 2. So yeah, they definitely sold that one. And I can definitely see why Nintendo is proclaimed as the big winner of E3. It really does show, and it really does look rather exciting. So that's pretty much it. That's all the big updates that pretty much you guys would need to know about E3 2017. If there are more that I kind of skipped over, or that I didn't really mention that really did catch your eye on E3, you can leave a little comment down below about your thoughts on how E3 went, or some of the other ones that really did stand out.